Hello and welcome everyone to today's tutorial on learning C++ from scratch. Today we are going to talk more about the return keyword in C++, where before we talked about it and said that we use the return keyword with function to return a data type that match our function type over here, where as you can see this function type is integer. So our return will return a data type that is integer as well. And if our function type is a string, it will return a data type that is a string as you can see over here. And if it is boolean, we said that boolean can carry true or false value, it will return a data type that is either true or false. And we talk about the void. We said that void don't use the return, or it's not necessary to use the return keyword with it. But with integer or string or boolean, it is necessary, or we are forced to use or to return something at the end of our function. But void don't force us to do that, but it's optional. It's not like we cannot use the return keyword inside our void function over here, but it is optional for us. And if we want to use it inside our void function, we use it without returning any value. Like the only job of it inside our void function is to stop the function to executing anything else that come after the return keyword. Like for example, let me delete this one over here. Now as you can see, we have this function over here which says say hi. And this say hi function will print hello user, creating bank account in another line, and then this line over here. And if we try to run our program, like we are going to call this function inside our main function, and now if we run our program, as you can see, it will print hello user, creating bank account, and the line as you can see over here without any problem. But if we use the return anywhere here, like for example, let's use it over here, return, it's not a problem. We can use the return keyword inside our void function. But we are not going to return anything here, like maybe a number. We're not going to return anything. We are just going to say return and that's it. And what return do is that the moment our function hit this return keyword, it will stop executing anything else that come after this return keyword. Now if we run our program, as you can see, it just printed hello user without printing anything else that come after the return keyword over here. So that's how we can use the return keyword inside our void function. We can use it to stop our function executing anything else that come after it. So how can this be useful? Like for example, let's make this like a function for creating a user bank account. Now what we want to do is that we are going to enter an age over here, where if our user enter an age which is bigger or equal to 18, then we are going to allow him to create a bank account. But if it is less than 18, then we are not going to allow him to create any bank account. So we can like here create a parameter and call it for example age, and then this age will accept the value that come over here, and then we can make a condition. If age is less than 18, then what we are going to do is maybe tell him, sorry, you are you are not old enough. And that's it. Slash n and end our line over here. And then after we execute this line over here, we are going to say return to exit our function over here and stop it executing any code that come after it. So now if we try to run our program, let me first close the old window. We didn't close this one over here. I'm going to close this one so that I can run our program again. Now if we run our program, hello user, creating our account, because our input over here is bigger than 18. But if we entered something that is less than 18, like for example 17, as you can see, it says sorry, you are not old enough, and didn't run anything else that come after it, because the moment it see that this condition is true, it execute this line of code first, and then it see the return keyword, which mean, hey, stop running this function over here and return back to the function where you were called. And in this case, create account were called in the main function, so it will return back to the main function and execute anything else that come after the createAccount function. Now, some people might think that we can only have one return keyword inside a single function, but actually that's not true. Well, we can have more than one return inside a single function. For example, if we have a function with type string, so this means that this function is going to return a string inside it, and let's say that it's going to return the student status, for example. Did he pass the exam or not? Status. And so we are going to check the student status depending on his mark. So we are going to enter a mark. So I'm going to accept a mark over here. And the mark is a number. So I can say int mark. Int means it's a number. And then open our function body over here. Now, here what I'm going to do is use an if condition to check if a student passed the exam or not. He will pass the exam if he surpassed more than 50 or more or higher. But if it's less than 50, then his status will be fail. So I'm going to say if the mark that we enter is bigger than or equal 50, then what I want to return is that he passed the exam. So I'm going to say here return, and then I'm going to return you passed, for example. Passed, you passed, and that's it. And then semicolon. Otherwise, else, I can say I can open an else bracket, or it's not necessary over here because if this one activated, anything else below will not be activated and we are going to exit our function over here. So I can say here, otherwise, return you fail and end it with semicolon. And now if we try to use this function inside our main function over here, like for example, if we type student status and enter a mark, for example, less than 50, maybe 48 for example, and of course this is going to return a string and we need it to be printed out because this is only going to return a value and the value need to be either stored inside a variable or print out. And we're going to print it out using a cout instruction. And now if we try to run our program, as you can see, it says you fail, and that is because the mark is less than 50. So this code over here wasn't activated, and it returned you fail instead. And this one didn't activate it at all. Now let us close this one and try to enter something bigger than 40, for example 58. Now if we try to run our program, it will say you pass and didn't return you fail like what it did before. And that is because the moment this return this value over here, it exit this function over here and didn't run the rest of the code over here. And so that's what I mean that you can have more than one return keyword inside our function. And yeah, that's it for today's tutorial. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.